Hi, I'm Kevin Walder, your host for the Oracle Scroll, and I'm calling this episode 4 of a series that is called Can We Talk? So we're going to start the new year off with this kind of look at my own personal journey. And I want to make that very, very clear that this is my own personal journey, and I'm only putting it out there to kind of check to see if others are feeling similarly or not. This has taken years, many, many decades, for me to get to this point of being ready to talk about how I look at the world. So, as we've established in previous episodes of Can We Talk, I came from a very structured, fundamentalist upbringing. There were no opportunities to engage in critical thinking of any sort. There were no opportunities to actually check to see if what we were being told was actual fact or not. And that being aside, really has very little to do with where I began to wake up from that particular existence. I have lots of people around me that have differences as far as dogma and their belief systems and so forth. Yes, I can acknowledge there are some serious flaws there, but that has really very little to do with what drove my decision. My decision was actually driven from personal experience. We were taught. I mean, this is when I use the word taught, you can intersperse the visual of the teacher holding the rod over your head while you are beaten into submission. That's teaching in their group. Survived that okay, I guess. Some would probably cry foul on that one. But the things that we were taught to do, the things that we were taught to think, the things that we were taught to study, read, and pray about, that were supposed to transform our lives and make us happy and make us feel fulfilled in every way, did nothing. They did nothing to make us feel energized or fulfilled in any way. So that was where I began to wake up, was why is this system that is so foolproof not working? Why does it not work? So I began to move away from there, and I began to search for other expressions of spirituality, other expressions that would satisfy the way I have always seen the world. I have long held the belief that the old traditional understanding of God created the heaven and the earth was entirely backward. And I firmly believe today that we and our human mind and our human heart and our human longing for understanding created God and created the understanding we have of that, what that means to us, what that means to our neighbors and so forth. Unfortunately, the basis for many is a very cruel, vengeful kind of God. Not one, and even though the verses are interspersed with loving messages, it doesn't ring true. They contradict each other on so many levels, and it just exposes the hypocrisy of the group. And that was one of the things that drove me away as quickly as possible, is the hypocrisy. Own it. if you have a vengeful God and you are a vengeful person and you are out to destroy as much as you can possibly get your hands on, own it. Let's be honest with it. Let's not try to paint it as something good, beneficial, and altruistic that we need to spread around, because it isn't. I'm sorry to tell you. So I moved away from that, and I again use air quotes, Christian upbringing, into more of, earth religion was the next stop, I guess. New Age and earth religion. New ways of thinking, new ways of understanding, and new ways of understanding ourselves and our brain and our makeup and how powerful we are as individuals. Those were things that really intrigued me, and they sort of meshed with some of the early thoughts and teachings that I had actually adapted into my own life. So I spent a few decades in that particular area, learning and picking up various information from various forms. But I'm feeling, and I have felt for some time, this is not brand new to me. This is something that's been going on for at least 2, maybe 3 years within my own head. And I've been questioning things, questioning everything that I believe, everything that I have accepted as being true. And I think in some ways, it feels to me as if I have traded one set of allegiances for another set of allegiances that are not all that different. It's like, abandoning a belief in a God and a Christ and those basic tenets of Christianity, and adapting it to archangels and whatever. I mean, we're not really leaving the system at all. We're keeping major portions of it and using it for our own understanding. I find that to be confusing, and I'm not comfortable with it anymore. I'm not comfortable with accepting that. Now, once again, I want to reiterate, this is my story, my journey. If it rings true for you, great. If not, that doesn't mean we don't have some places that we can meet, some places we can understand each other. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not rejecting the community. I'm just asking us to take a hard look at ourselves. First of all, I was just thinking the other day that when it comes to major religions, whether you be Christian or Islam or Judaism, the first thing you must absolutely accept and profess is that you are worthless and you do not deserve to live. Because that's what you have to do, is seek the approval and the forgiveness for whatever from some being, whether it be up there, out there, or down there. We don't know. So it feels to me like we just don't quite get it, that we're much more powerful than we've ever been told. And no one's ever going to tell you how powerful you are, because then they can't control you. You're no longer under their thumb when you realize you have your own power. Just for exercise, just for fun, let's consider that we have a candidate for the presidency of the United States. And this candidate has come out in favor of his firm belief in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy. Those are 3 things that he absolutely believes and has a great deal of faith in, and he professes this openly. How far do you think he's going to get on the campaign trail? Now, let's consider that we have another candidate, his opposing candidate, who does not profess those same beliefs, but has a firm belief in a God and a Christ and a Holy Spirit, perhaps. he cannot go anywhere without expressing that firm belief, because voters will they will cast off the first guy because he's ridiculous. Obviously, he's delusional. The second guy absolutely has to have all the things that he professes, or they simply will ignore him. That's kind of where we live right now. We're willing to accept A, but B that looks just exactly like it is unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. And this is so wrong because, frankly, I'm not sure there's a great deal of value in either one. And that has been a very difficult decision for me to come to. So what I'm trying to get us to understand is we have the power to create and to do the things that we really need done in our lives. We're sitting around waiting for someone to bless us, for someone to give us whatever we've hoped for, whatever we've been praying for. Well, as history will tell us, it doesn't happen all that often. That's why it's news when someone wins a lotto. It's why it's news when someone scores a winning point and gets all kinds of bonuses for doing so. That's what makes it news. It doesn't happen all that often. So that's what I'm trying to get us to realize, is how much power we possess in our own hands, in our own minds, our own hearts, and our own gut. Bring it all together and learn how we can begin to direct energy, and without relying on an invisible source that may or may not really be there. So come along, if you please, and we'll explore this together. This is just the first episode of this particular series, so we'll try again to understand why we have to believe that we are useless, worthless people before we can be saved. Maybe it's time to save ourselves. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Oracle Scroll. Please visit my website at kevinwalder.com, where you can purchase any of the services that I offer. Also, check out my books, Tarot for Lunch, Lessons from the Cards, and 22 Teachers, Healing Lessons from the Major Arcana. Both are available now at Amazon.com. And most importantly, never miss another episode. Click below, click the subscribe button and the bell to make sure you're always up to date.